guess what I would tell people, and this is no BS, is that I didn't actually think it was achievable, right? I mean, I went into this thinking like, I know I can lose some weight. I think I can probably improve my workouts. I did not think I would look the way I do today at 48 years old. So I would say to somebody, it's achievable, it's possible. If I can do it, I think anybody can.
What is up, my friend, and welcome back to the Legendary Life Podcast. If you're just tuning in for the first time, I'm your host, Ted Rice, health expert and coach to entrepreneurs, executives, and other high-performing professionals. Today, my client, Trevor, is back on the show to share more about his transformation and how that transformation impacted every aspect of his life, not just how he looks and how he sees himself in the mirror, but even sharing how it affected his relationship with his children. If you don't remember his story or you haven't heard it yet, he's a successful commercial real estate broker who is having some challenges. He was working out hard, lifting weights 3 times a week, doing his Peloton, but he wasn't seeing the return on investment for his time and effort. He was also having some issues sleeping and feeling a bit stressed. After joining my program, Trevor managed to transform his body, fix those health issues, and went from 17.5% body fat to 12.5% body fat in just 4 months. And he did all these things while going through a massive career transition and navigating an active social life. So in this episode, I took a different approach. Here's the story of how this happened. I was in the middle of a coaching call with Trevor, and he was just on fire. And I said, Trevor, what you're saying right now, what you're sharing with me is so important that I would love to click the record button so that other people could hear what you're talking about right now and benefit from not just your experience, but what you're sharing about how other people could make this happen for themselves. And here's the thing. I had to credit him another coaching session to make it happen, but it was worth it because this episode is such gold. He talks about what the real key was for him to change his body. And he talks about the biggest challenges he faced. And he shares the subtle changes he made to his routine and eating habits that allowed him not to just achieve. I want you to pay attention to this. He achieved that 17.5% body fat to 12.5% body fat in 4 months, but he's been maintaining this. He's 10 months in and still going strong. How do you keep that up? Because people don't have a weight loss problem. They don't have a challenge losing weight or changing their body. They have a problem with maintaining it. And perhaps that resonates with you. And today I asked Trevor, how are you keeping this up? And he shares it. So he describes not only how losing 20 pounds affected how he looks and feels, but how it led to more success at work and more clarity of mind. This is such a powerful episode. If you're looking for a success roadmap to help you guide you to the type of change and transformation you want to make with your health, you're in the right place today. Without further ado, let's jump into this conversation with my client, Trevor.
Hey, what's up, Trevor? Thanks for coming on the show today and sharing your story.
Yeah, no problem.
So let's jump right in. First, can you introduce yourself? Can you talk about the amazing transformation you had, how much weight you lost, what your body fat changed to, anything else that you want to share with people listening? And then we'll dive into how all that happened.
Sure. Quick introduction. Trevor K, live in Portland, Oregon. Just, had one of those epiphanies where I felt like it was time to get my butt back in shape. And, my wife had been listening to your podcast for quite a while, and she turned me on to it. And it took a few months, and I finally got back from a trip and said, it's time for a change. And, I think at the time I was right around 200 pounds. I didn't feel like I was, quote, overweight, but, wasn't sleeping as well, a lot of stress. I still worked out a lot and certainly wasn't seeing the results from all the time I'd put in the gym. And so, you and I started working together just over 4 months ago. And, went from around 200 pounds down to a low of 176.5. I'm about 180 right now, but that's putting on some muscle back on, like we talked about. So in all honesty, it's a complete body transformation. That's obviously, great, that part of it. But the other part that people don't probably give enough credit to is just how much better I'm sleeping, how much I just say less stress in my life. I'm able to deal with it more. And I just feel better. I'm more productive at work. I'm leaner. I feel great. And that's probably the best thing I've gotten out of it.
You feel great. That's the best thing. Yeah. I mean, we kind of like tell a story about, oh, well, it's just the weight, it doesn't really matter. It's more superficial, but what would you say to that?
Again, I truly believe that once you go through the process, and if you really stick with it, you will have less stress. Even if you have the same stresses, you just deal with them better. So maybe it's not less, it's just the way you deal with them. The other thing is just for me, as you remember, Ted, I wasn't sleeping very well. And, I think losing as much body fat as I did has really helped my sleeping, and the nutritional aspects of what we do. It can be hard at the beginning, but it becomes a lot easier, and it becomes like kind of your way of life, so to speak. It's not a chore. It's more just, it's sustainable. And I think that's one of the big keys as well. I think I went from, over 18% body fat down to 12%. And, that's a pretty big change. And that was only in about 2.5 months. And so I'd be curious to see where I am today. But it's been a fun transformation.
So tell me, what does someone really need to transform?
What does someone? Well, I was going to say there's a couple of things. One, you need the motivation. It has to come from within yourself. You're a guide, hell of a guide, but you got to decide that this is something you want, a journey you want to embark on. And number two, I think I don't think you have to be a total introvert, but you got to be able to put your earbuds in and do your workouts on your own. If you do them with somebody, that's fine, but I think you can get distracted. So I just, for me, it was more focusing on getting my workouts done. And I mean, you told me, you go, man, get some good books on tape. Because when you're doing the elliptical for 45 minutes or an hour and you're only at your heart rate's at 110 to 120, it doesn't feel like you're getting much of a workout. But that's that first part of the program, especially for me, that's when I burned so much fat and was able to build the muscle after that. So that was the big turning point for me. That I had no problem doing that because you start seeing results. For me, it was pretty quick, as you know.
Yeah. So people need to have them. It's true. I'm a guide. I can't do it for you. Like I literally cannot come and eat the food or work out for you. So you need the motivation and you need to be focused when you're in the gym. And what else?
Yeah. I mean, I think it also helps to have support at home or somebody else like that is there kind of just, maybe they're not part of the program, but they're on the same page and, they're encouraging you to keep going. I mean, it's not that the first couple months were I don't want to say they were tough, but they were different, right? So it's a change and you have to make a change. And so for me, it was really helpful having my wife who's obviously listened to your podcast for years and they kept telling me this is something I think you should do and you would be successful and he'll help you on, guide you on the right path. And she was awesome through that process. So that was probably the other big key.
How did she help you though?
She's eaten healthy her whole life. So it was more just for me. I mean, there's such subtle changes. Like I used to always get, call it a Reuben sandwich with fries if I went out because I went to the gym. I was like, I could burn that off at the gym or, I get the ribeye steak, garlic mashed potatoes and, load it up. Right. I just don't make those kind of decisions anymore. And if I want to have a sandwich like you and I talked about, I get like a half a sandwich and I'm not, through this process, I don't need to eat as much. I'm not as hungry and I'm still put on tons of muscle. Do you know what I mean? I mean, that's the change is like, I always told myself I grew up and people said I was so skinny, and then I was like, I need to bulk up. And I thought the way to bulk up was, lift heavy weights, eat a lot, get a lot of calories and I'll be fine. Then I hit my 40s and that's not sustainable. and the correct way to do it. And the more my wife kept telling me is like, you're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. But sometimes it's good to have an outside person helping you as opposed to your spouse.
Yeah. So motivation, being able to stay focused, especially when you're in the gym, and then what else? Like, how do you handle the social situations? Do people pressure you to eat or drink? I mean, you were just talking about how, what happens and how do you deal with it?
The social part is, that I think that's the toughest. I'm sure you have a lot of clients like mine. What I found is now I can go out and have a couple drinks and, you space it out over a long period of time. So that's not as big of an issue. And I will tell you, the secret is soda water with a lime. It looks like you're drinking a vodka soda. That's just because if you're in those work settings, it is really tough. And the other thing is when they keep filling your wine up at a dinner, you just got to put your hand over the glass. You kind of got to know how much you're consuming because it can get away from you pretty quick. And the other thing is I didn't drink for a while when I started this thing. And I didn't miss it. And I was just told people, hey, I'm on a bit of a health kick and you kind of get a free hall pass. And then, now it's like, hey, you need to put on weight. Look at you, you're skinny, come on, what's going on? And I'm like, hey, I still have a glass of wine. I still do this stuff. I just don't, I don't consume like I used to. And I'm much more aware of what I'm putting in my body. And I think tracking all that stuff, and I'm very religious about doing that. When you've had you've eaten too much or drank too much. And I've found for me, what works is if I do have one of those days where I do, now I'm up to 2,200 calories a day. So if I go 24 or 25, which has happened a few times, the next day I can easily go to 1,600 or 1,700 and, offset it. Right. And it works. I don't, it's obviously not sustainable if I do that every single day at 2,600 calories. But if I go the next day, like come back from a work trip after going out to eat every single meal, which is, by the way, it's really tough. I get it. But then you come home and you just kind of get yourself healthy again. And I'm always surprised by how quick I go back now. Right. After, and the other thing is, I'm kind of on a tangent, but like breakfast, I'll do I have oatmeal and a side of fruit. Very easy. When and you look at everyone else having their bacon, eggs, hash browns, and they're just crushing 1,200 calorie breakfast. And you're sitting there just like, I feel better, and I remember eating those things. That's what I used to do on those business trips, and then there's a buffet. I just skip the buffet because I know what's going to happen if I go to the buffet. I'm like, well, I want to try that. Next thing you know, and then you're eating when you're not even hungry. And so that's the other thing is, it's portion control too, weighing your food at the beginning. And now I have a really good idea of how much I'm eating. And I don't even need, when I got that big bowl of oatmeal yesterday, I ate about a third of it. I ate the whole thing of berries, but I don't need to eat.
You were somewhere like at a hotel and you ordered oatmeal?
Yeah, with a client breakfast thing. I just don't eat. Yeah.
Yeah, it's portion control. And so but how do you manage the times where you want to eat something? Yeah.
So so if I want to have a ice cream or something some night, right? It's a lot of it's kind of planning for that. Or, for me, it's like, I want to make sure I've saved enough to have dessert. Like you like your pastries, right? So, hey, we all got, so this is the thing. If you allocate your calories appropriately, you can do that. I don't ever feel like I'm missing anything. If I want to have a few French fries, I still do have a few French fries. I remember I used to eat the whole freaking plate of French fries. I just can't believe I used to do that. I really did. It was not. And like you said, I wasn't like fat when I joined this thing, but I was almost 30 pounds heavier than I am today, and I worked all the time. And I just, I kept actually putting on weight. So, that changed, just little changes like that. My kids, I don't eat the end of my kids' food anymore. You know what I mean? They'll get a cheeseburger and eat half of it. And they go like, Dad, you want it? I'm like, no. Even though I look at it, I was like, that cheeseburger looks really good, but I'm not hungry. I've already eaten. You know what I mean? But those are just the simple things you can do. It's discipline because and also eating a little bit slower. And I used to just I'm always in a rush and we're always, type A personalities, we've got stuff to do. So eat your food and then you're eating fast and then you don't necessarily feel full. So as the slower I eat and I take some time and I'm like, I actually feel great. I'm done eating. I don't need to eat anymore. I don't eat anymore when I'm full. And I know I used to do that.
So you make it sound like you never overeat though. Well, you said you have 2,500 calories, something like that on a few days, 2,600. But when you overeat, I know you bring it back, but you ever plan like, hey, I'm like right now I'm in Paris, or could we use an example of when you're on vacation? What's the system? What's the Trevor K system on vacation?
Yeah, I mean, or give you a great example. Like we went into the sushi place in Dallas, and awesome place, and we did omakase. So they just kept bringing stuff out. That's just a kind of chef's choice kind of thing, and then you just sitting there, you don't really know how much you're eating, and it tasted really good. And that's when I plugged it in. I was like, holy crap, that was about 2,600 calories that I consumed over the day, right? So then I was, I got home. I was like, I just got to take it easy, and I just ate smarter, and eating at home is easier. So don't get me wrong. It's just, that's how I've always done it. On vacation, I just make sure that I usually don't, as you know, I like my protein shakes in the morning, and I might have a light breakfast, like an oatmeal and fruit, but that's really it. And it's just a little bit, just to sustain myself. And then I'll have a decent lunch, usually a salad with chicken. And then if I go out to eat, I like to go out and have a nice dinner. And if I do those steps, I'm usually able to eat pretty much whatever I want at dinner. I mean, not French fries and cheeseburgers every night, but do you know what I mean? That's how I do it on vacation. And if my wife wants to have a margarita by the pool, I can have a margarita by the pool, right? It's not like I don't do that stuff, because I still enjoy that. She and I like to have a drink and sit and laugh. And that's part of, and she's, by the way, very healthy too. So it's just, that works for us. It's kind of the budget, right? That's how I've looked at it, is just a budget. And I think anyone who's kind of in this program is probably looks at, it's got to be similar to me and looking at everything like that.
Yeah, for sure. Right. It's the economics of fat loss. Yeah. It's like you want to have tasty food. You want to eat a lot of it, but there's a cost to that. And the cost is it's high calories.
Yep.
And so the low calorie food doesn't taste as good, but it's what allows you to balance the budget so that you're able to have I forget what you called it, but the all you can eat chef's choice.
Yeah, the omakase
sushi restaurant.
Yeah, and like you always say, have that once a week kind of cheat meal, right? And I mean, that's kind of the way I look at that. But my cheat meals now are not a ribeye steak with, I look at, you go to Ruth's Chris or, the Ringside or some steakhouse, and you look at this stuff and you're like, holy crap, that's 1,200 calories in a steak. Those are just decisions. You just, if you want to have a little bit of it, have a small bite of someone's ribeye if you still want to experience it, but just don't order the whole thing. Those are just the simple changes that I made. You can have a filet mignon and it's 600 calories, but it's, it'll fill you up, and it's high protein and it's low fat, lower fat.
Lower fat.
Yeah.
And so like with the workouts, how many days per week in the gym lifting weights, and how many days per week doing cardio have you found like is your magic combination?
Yeah, we started, it was a little, I've really gotten into it, like the program, the weight program you gave me. And so now I'm 2 on, 1 off.
2 on, 1 off.
Yeah. And I've stuck with that for the last 4 or 5 months. And it really works for me. Like today's an off day for me. And so I'll do my elliptical for 45 minutes or an hour. Often I walk the dogs and just do a huge walk in my neighborhood for an hour and get my heart rate up a little bit, and that's kind of my cardio, or I'll go play basketball with my son, or I'll play tennis and do those kind of things on these days. And sometimes I walk almost every day I still do that stuff. That's just part of like my lifestyle.
So 2 days on with weights, and then you take a day off and you either do cardio or walk the dog or play basketball with your son or play tennis. Yeah. And then how many steps are you averaging per day?
I average between 14 and 15,000.
Yeah, that's a lot of steps. I mean, that's what I got, 15,000 steps today. And I feel like I walked a lot. How do you get that exercise? I walked 17,830 because I'm in Paris, man. How do you keep your step count so high?
So I don't have a job where I just sit at a desk all day. So I get that makes it a little bit easier for me. I'm constantly on the go. I'm probably only in the office a few hours a day. So I'm walking buildings. I'm just constantly on the move, and I kind of move around even when I'm on calls. Often I it, and it's amazing how many steps you put in just doing that. Is getting yourself in a habit of not, we have sit stand desks, but I put a headset on. I just kind of roam, and I think about it a lot. Like I got to my hotel the other day and I had 45 minutes till my first meeting in Dallas. So I just went and started walking around the city, and I got, I did a 35-minute walk, and your Oura ring tells you exactly how many steps you did, and I was like, well, crap. I mean, so I consciously try to, instead of like sitting down and having a coffee, maybe I'll grab a coffee and then just go for a walk. Those are just ways that I've done it. It's just kind of get creative in getting your steps. Cause I do look at that like yesterday, cause it was, just getting back, I did 10,000 steps, but today I've got a crazy day and I'll probably do 15 to 16.
Gotcha. Yeah. I think people underestimate the power of steps. I've been eating I have not been strict. I shared 3 croissants this morning.
Yeah.
So I ate 1.5 this morning, and then I shared 2, and I wasn't responsible for the second one. I was responsible for me eating them though, and so I shared then 2. And she's super fit, but
yeah.
So anyway, yeah. But I've been doing not quite that. Today was unusual.
Yeah,
and I haven't had anything else except a bowl of oatmeal, and also my time's coming to an end on Sunday. Yep. So that's not going to happen on Sunday.
Yep.
Yeah. But I still see the veins in my shoulders and, yep. Still see that. How do you handle the working out while traveling? Is it just the steps? Do you still stick with the 2 days on, 1 day off? What do you do?
Like I went, I'm a gym rat. Like you and I talked about this. So I went and I looked at the hotel gym and it wasn't going to work for me. So on my walk, I walked by a gym. I walked in. It was the Dallas Cowboy themed, Dallas Cowboy Fit Gym or something. And so I went in. They're like, yeah, you can get a 24-hour pass for $20. And I was like, done. So I went in and I could do my full workout. That's what if I'm checking a bag, I always bring my bands. But like this was like a 2-night like in and out kind of thing. I was like, God, I don't have enough room for my band. So I knew I could find a gym. So that's when I was in Europe, I had the bands. I had the little most of the hotels had a small gym, so I would take my bands down there, and kids would be asleep and whatnot, and I would just go down and get a quick workout. And that's the thing. Like when I traveled, I didn't do as extensive a workouts as I, obviously do at home. But like you said, as long as you're just keeping it up to some extent, I feel better when I do it now. Like if I miss a day and I have, by the way, everyone's going to miss a day or two, but my body's like, you need to get in the gym. I mean, by the way, I was following you about that boxer the other day, and I was going to comment, I was in meetings, but I don't feel sore at all anymore. Like when I went morning and I always put hard on my workout. Like I push myself. I don't go easy when I'm exercising, so, but I don't wake up and go, oh my God, that was such a hard workout. I'm so sore. I can't move. Cause I know that's not, and I used to do that, right? I used to wake up and be like, oh shit, God, that was not what I wanted. And now I wake up and I feel good, which means I've actually succeeded in my workout. That's the way I look at it. So I'm right there with you.
And so let me ask you this, and then let's wrap things up here. But if you had something to say to someone who was just starting this program and wanting to get to maybe not quite your level, or maybe to your level, or maybe not quite, but close, what would you say to someone? What do you wish you would have known? Or what would you say to someone?
That's a great question. I mean, I guess what I would tell people, and this is no BS, is that I didn't actually think it was achievable, right? I mean, I went into this thinking like, I know I can lose some weight. I think I can probably improve my workouts. I did not think I would look the way I do today at 48 years old. So I would say to somebody, it's achievable, it's possible, if I can do it, I think anybody can. I honestly believe that. I mean, I've worked out my whole life. It's high school, college sports, the whole deal. But it works. You just have to be committed to it. And I think you set up a really good support system. So there's people that can, you can go to and ask questions. You got people like me in it that have done this now for 10 months, so set your goal and you might be surprised. You might actually surpass it.
Wow. Powerful. Yeah. That's the number one thing anyway, that I hear is like, people don't believe it's possible. Yeah. Right? People don't believe it's possible. And it totally is possible. It's kind of like, I don't know what type of financial goal you would equate it to, but it's like, it's an achievable goal. A lot of it's just the mindset and also having strategies, or I would even ask you, what would you say it is? Why didn't you believe it's possible? And then now it's like, oh, well, this is easy to maintain.
Yeah. Well, God, I mean, because I will tell you, it does feel pretty easy for me to maintain now, and I'm knock on wood, but I feel like I've kind of got it. I think you see, a Men's Health magazine, or you get these pop-ups that show like, in 60 days, you can look like Arnold Schwarzenegger and and they're, all this kind of BS. So you kind of, I'm always one of the skeptical people. It's like, all right, this guy's going to get me a six pack. We'll see. He knows how to do this. All right. And I get made fun of now that like, hey, you're almost 50 with a six pack. That's crazy. So I guess like it's totally, that's why. And I think you have a right to be skeptical, except you have real world examples of people that have done it. So then if they can do it, why can't you? That's what I'd leave you with.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Trevor. That was amazing, man. That's it for today, my friend. And I want to ask you, what was the biggest takeaway you got from today's conversation with Trevor? Did you relate to his story? What could you do to take action on what you heard today? What is just one small change that you can make to change your health and to get better results so that you're in a better place in your life? Because health truly is the foundation for success with our work, with our relationships. And I want to ask you, if you're a person who you've heard some of these transformational stories about how people achieve not just a change with their body, not just the body fat loss, not just the gain in muscle, but how their life is different now. And you want some of that because you are doing well with your career, running your business. You have a family that you're supporting and that you are doing well with. But when it comes to what you see in the mirror when you wake up in the morning, you know that you could do better and you want to do better. And you could also do it on your own, but you would like a step-by-step process from someone who's figured it out, who's cracked the code and can get you from where you are now to where you want to be much faster than you could do on your own. If that's something you're interested in, I want you to go to legendarylifeprogram.com/apply and hop on a call with me. This is a 15-minute call. It's not a sales call. It's just an exploratory call. A health audit is what I call it, so that we can talk about where you are right now, what you want to achieve, what are the goals, and what are the challenges you're facing to get there, and what would you like to move faster? And if it seems like a good fit for both of us, because it is a coaching program, my friend, it isn't just you buy it and then go off on your own and do it yourself. We will be working together to create a personalized program, the same strategies that I used with Trevor, that I use with all my clients, Lisa, Dan, so many clients. I'll be using that with you. So if you'd like to explore that, if you have any interest at all, go to legendarylifeprogram.com/apply and let's talk. And I want to make this clear. This isn't for everyone. This is for people you're already in motion. You've already tried diets. You've already been exercising, or you're looking for how to put everything together in a step-by-step way to make this work. You're a high performer. You're either running a business or working at a high level in a business, and you're ready to do something about your health now. Let's hop on a call, because New Year's is coming up fast. This is going to be our busiest. We're already busier than we were last year. And I'll be straight with you. Even if you said, hey, I've got 50 clients who are ready to work with you, Ted, I couldn't take on all 50. So we're really talking about 10 people here. I'm looking for 10 more people max who want to achieve their best body ever in 2023. If you want to be one of these success stories who started with skepticism, who started with a story about what you've been doing and the results you've been getting, and want to break through that and crush your old habits, start new ones, and get to a place in your life, a place of fitness, a place of health, a place of energy that you didn't even think was possible in your 40s, 50s, or 60s, that's what we're talking about here. So do not wait. I will run out of places. Go to thatlegendarylifeprogram.com/apply, hop on a call with me. And I want to say one more thing before we move on and talk about what's coming up next. So I have a special announcement. I want to tell you, we're only looking for those win-win situations. And if you're not the right client, I'm not going to ask you to join the program, or if I don't feel like I can help you. But if you've been listening and you feel like there's something there, you feel there's a connection, a curiosity, a spark of interest, that this might be the thing that you're looking for, go ahead and book that call. All right, now let's talk about what's coming up this week on Friday. I'm going to start a new series about how you can make 2023 your best year ever. And in this series, I'm going to talk about the struggles my clients have had and the solutions I gave to these problems. So I'm going to go over the most common struggles that the clients that I've worked with over the past 23 years, what do I see that keeps coming up? Because like you probably see some patterns occur in your line of work, in your business, in your field of expertise. And you see them over and over. At first, it seems, the first 5 to 10 years you do something, it seems like, oh, well, this is so new, everything's so new. But after 23 years, after a few decades, you're like, oh yeah, this is the problem. Here's how you solve it. So the first episode in this series is going to be about, if you've tried and failed before, how that affects you, how it affects going forward. So if you're a person, you believe that it's possible cognitively, mentally, you know that it's possible. You understand the concepts here that we talk about and that you've learned from other places, other good podcasts, but there's somewhere deep inside you that doesn't believe that this is possible. We're going to address why you feel that way. We're going to address the chatter in your head, that self-sabotage. We're going to talk about where it comes from and how to end it. And that's what we're going to start with. So it's going to be a 5-part series. And if you relate to this story, what I've just shared with you, and if you're tired of being in this lose the weight, gain it back, lose the weight, gain it back for years, and you want to create the breakthrough and you want to stop that story in your head, you're going to want to tune in on Friday. So that's a lot, but that's what we're going to be tackling in this series about how to make 2023 your best year ever. Hope you have an amazing week and speak to you on Friday.